There's certain patterns to break.
And you think choosing bad partners is like a genetic thing?
I feel like I want to cry.
Why?
Just because it's like, it gives me anxiety. Sometimes I'm just like, it makes you really like analyze just like where you're at. And then I'm like, sometimes like, what am I doing? 10 years. So it's like, it does make it really easy. Like we just all know each other and each other.
So was taking his last name a given? Were you positive that was going to happen, or did you think about that for a while?
It was a given. Yeah, it was just a given. It wasn't a thought.
For the day I left. And the day I left, I was like...
You'd flown a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with the territory with what I do. Sometimes we'd fly twice a day.
From the outside, this looked like the kind of love story people only dream about. A whirlwind proposal on a beach covered in roses, wedding ceremonies that played out like global events, and a baby announcement that went viral overnight. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker weren't just another celebrity couple. They were the couple, the so-called proof that true love can exist under the brightest spotlight. But if Hollywood has taught us anything, it's that the brighter the fairy tale shines, the darker the shadows behind it. Because for every glossy Instagram post and every carefully staged TV moment, there's another version of this story, one filled with doubts, old ghosts, family rivalries, and cracks that no filter can hide. So what really happened here? Was this the love story of the decade? Or just another romance built to fall apart in front of millions? When Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker finally went public with their relationship, the internet couldn't look away. For years, they had been neighbors in Calabasas, raising their kids just a few houses apart, occasionally spotted together at family gatherings or community events. Nobody thought much of it, until friendship turned into something more. And once it did, the story took off like wildfire. The proposal set the tone. On a golden California beach with the sun dipping into the horizon, Travis dropped to one knee inside a heart-shaped arrangement of hundreds of roses. Cameras caught every angle. The crashing waves, the glowing sunset, the shock and joy on Kourtney's face. Within minutes, photos and clips had gone viral. Headlines called it magical. Fans insisted she had finally found her happy ending. For many, it was the proposal every girl dreams of, except this one was broadcast to millions. But that was just the opening act. What followed was a celebration that blurred the line between private life and public performance. First came the spontaneous Vegas ceremony, complete with an Elvis impersonator. Then the quiet legal wedding at a Santa Barbara courthouse. And finally, the grand finale, an opulent Italian wedding hosted in a castle on the Riviera, dripping with Dolce & Gabbana designs. Each moment felt bigger, louder, and more cinematic than the last. Fans didn't just see a marriage, they saw a spectacle, a cultural event. A story designed for the cameras but consumed by people around the world as proof that soulmates really do exist. The fairy tale didn't stop there. The blending of their families was another chapter that seemed too perfect to be true. Kourtney's children bonded with Travis's kids, and social media lit up with posts about how seamless their households appeared. Then came the ultimate high point, Kourtney's pregnancy reveal. The announcement exploded online, and when their son Rocky was born in 2023, it was hailed as the crowning moment of their love story. From neighbors to newlyweds to parents, in the eyes of fans, this wasn't just a couple. It was destiny playing out in real time. But fairy tales have a way of skipping the messy parts. And for Kourtney and Travis, those parts were only just beginning to surface. Every fairy tale has a past. And in Hollywood, the past never stays buried for long. For Kourtney and Travis, the glow of their whirlwind romance began to dim when old stories and forgotten interviews suddenly made their way back into the headlines. One of the first cracks came from Travis himself. Years before he and Kourtney ever became a couple, he released a memoir where he casually admitted finding Kourtney's younger sister, Kim Kardashian, attractive. At the time, it seemed like just another detail in a rock star's tell-all. Harmless, even forgettable. But the internet never forgets. And once the confession resurfaced, it became fuel for endless speculation. Tabloids began digging deeper, recycling old claims that Travis's admiration for Kim may have gone further than he admitted. His ex-wife, Shauna Moakler, doubled down, suggesting there had been inappropriate behavior and even hinting at infidelity during their marriage. Travis denied it all, insisting it was nothing more than a passing attraction. But in the unforgiving world of celebrity gossip, denial rarely closes the case. For Kourtney, this wasn't just about what Travis did or didn't do years ago. It was about perception. How do you build a marriage when the world won't let you forget your partner once had eyes for your sister? Every time the story resurfaced, it wasn't just a headline. It was a reminder. A seed of doubt planted where trust was supposed to grow. Fans played their part in keeping the fire alive. Some defended Travis, calling his honesty refreshing and harmless. Others saw it as a massive red flag. the kind of detail that would haunt any relationship. Social media debates raged, dissecting interviews, screenshots, and timelines like amateur detectives piecing together a case. For the couple, it meant the past wasn't just in the past. It was sitting at the dinner table, whispering between the lines of every public appearance, every glance, every awkward silence. And once those ghosts resurfaced, they were impossible to ignore. But if Travis's history created the first cracks, Kourtney's own family dynamics would widen them in ways no one expected. If there's one thing the Kardashian empire has taught the world, it's that family drama never stays private. For years, fans watched Kourtney and Kim's relationship swing between sisterly love and cutthroat rivalry. They clashed over businesses, over priorities, and sometimes over nothing at all. But when Travis entered the picture, those old wounds didn't just resurface, they deepened. The problem wasn't just that Travis once admitted he was attracted to Kim. It was the way that confession overlapped with the sisters' already fragile bond. Suddenly, every interaction between them was re-examined under a microscope. A simple birthday post from Kourtney could be read as an olive branch or as damage control. A playful costume where Kourtney dressed like Kim sparked debates about whether it was admiration or subtle shade. Fans became detectives, scouring captions and body language for hidden meanings. Online forums lit up with theories. Was Kim jealous of Kourtney's new spotlight? Was Kourtney quietly keeping score? Did Travis's past admiration for Kim create unspoken tension every time the family gathered at the dinner table? The Hulu series only fanned the flames. Trailers teased explosive arguments, cryptic voiceovers, and carefully edited close-ups that made it clear the sisters' feud wasn't going anywhere. And even when they appeared to reconcile on camera, the editing made sure viewers never forgot how fragile the piece really was. For Kourtney, this wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. It was her marriage crashing headfirst into her family's brand. Every headline connecting Travis to Kim chipped away at her trust in both relationships, with her husband on one side and her sister on the other. And because the Kardashians' lives double as entertainment, every attempt to mend fences became content for the world to consume. To fans, it was juicy drama. To Kourtney, it was her marriage and her family, torn apart and stitched back together for the cameras. What should have been private became spectacle, and what should have been healing turned into another performance. And while the world debated whether it was petty, staged, or deadly serious, one truth remained. The cracks in Kourtney and Travis's marriage weren't just about them anymore. They were about a family empire and a rivalry that refused to die. But the tension didn't stop there, because soon, even their own displays of passion started to look like something else entirely. In the beginning, Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's romance was defined by passion. Red carpets filled with kisses, paparazzi shots of hand-holding, and Instagram posts that left little to the imagination made them look inseparable. To fans, it was intoxicating, the kind of love people dream of, fiery and unstoppable. But as the months passed, the same thing that once made people swoon started to make them question. Could anyone really keep up that level of intensity? Were Kourtney and Travis truly that wrapped up in each other? Or was it a performance designed to keep the spotlight burning? Whispers began to circulate. Insiders claimed that Kourtney was bending more and more of her life around Travis. Her style shifted, her habits changed, and even her diet reportedly started to mirror his. At first, fans celebrated it as a glow-up, a transformation that made her look happier and more confident than ever. But over time, what once looked like growth began to feel like compromise. Was she really evolving, or was she losing pieces of herself in the process? Even her family seemed to notice. Kim, in particular, allegedly voiced concern that Travis was pulling Kourtney away, not just from them, but from her own identity. What the public saw as passion, Kim reportedly saw as control. To her, Kourtney didn't look empowered. She looked overshadowed. And while Travis always came across calm and affectionate in public, critics wondered who really held the power in their marriage. His career, his schedule, his preferences often seemed to set the tone, while Kourtney adapted around him. For a woman who had built her brand on independence and doing things her own way, the imbalance didn't go unnoticed. Fans who once celebrated their PDA began to doubt its authenticity. Were the endless kisses proof of a deep connection, or proof that they were trying to convince the world, and maybe themselves, that the spark hadn't faded? Because passion can blur into performance. And when love starts to look like control, the story rarely ends the way it began. And as Travis hit the road again with Blink-182, those questions didn't just linger, they grew louder. When Blink-182 announced their return to touring, fans were thrilled. Sold-out arenas, screaming crowds, and Travis Barker back behind the drums. It was supposed to be a career high. But this wasn't the same Travis who had toured the world before. Now he was a newlywed, a stepdad, and the father of a newborn. And instead of traveling solo, he had Kourtney and baby Rocky by his side. At first, the optics looked picture perfect. Family photos backstage, Kourtney posting loving snapshots, Travis carrying Rocky in his arms. To fans, it was proof that they were building something unshakable, blending rock star life with family life in a way that seemed almost effortless. But behind the curated Instagram posts, the cracks started to show. Touring is brutal even without kids. Late nights, endless flights, and the pressure of performing night after night can wear anyone down. Add a newborn into the mix, and it becomes almost impossible to keep balance. Eyewitnesses noticed the shift. While Kourtney pushed to show a united front, Travis often looked distracted, tired, even frustrated. What was meant to be a bonding experience quickly turned into a pressure cooker. Kourtney was exhausted, juggling jet lag, motherhood, and the chaos of tour life. Travis was trying to meet the demands of thousands of fans while keeping his family close. Neither role was easy, and together they collided. The breaking point came on Valentine's Day. Instead of celebrating together, Travis was on the road while Kourtney stayed back in Sydney with the kids. The image was striking. The couple, once known for their over-the-top displays of affection, couldn't even share the most romantic day of the year. Tabloids jumped on it, calling it a sign of deeper issues. Fans who once believed in their fairy tale now wondered if it was starting to unravel. By the time the tour wrapped, it didn't feel like a relief. It felt like a question mark. If a few months on the road could push them apart, what did that mean for the rest of their marriage? And the answers only got more complicated when people looked closer at how this couple was really living, not together, but across the street from each other. For most newlyweds, marriage means building one home together, one roof, one bedroom, one life. But for Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker, things have never followed the traditional script. Even after multiple weddings, a baby, and countless public displays of devotion, the couple still lives in separate houses, right across the street from each other. On the surface, their explanation sounded reasonable. Both already had kids from previous relationships, and each child had their own routines, bedrooms, and sense of stability. Forcing everyone into a single home overnight could have caused chaos. Kourtney even said she wanted to take things slowly for the sake of her children, framing the choice as thoughtful parenting. But fans weren't convinced. Why would a couple who once couldn't stand to be apart suddenly choose distance? Why keep up separate households if their bond was really as inseparable as they claimed? Speculation only grew when Kourtney admitted she often co-slept. Not with Travis, but with her daughter, Penelope. To her, it was natural and comforting. To outsiders, it raised uncomfortable questions. If she wasn't sharing a bed with her husband, how strong could their marriage really be? Travis tried to downplay the concerns, emphasizing that their families came together for Sunday dinners and that the distance was purely practical. But in a world where every detail is dissected, the optics told a different story. To many, it looked less like stability and more like separation. A couple living parallel lives instead of one united future. And when you add this to the pressures already weighing on them, old ghosts, sibling rivalry, and the grind of fame, the separate homes didn't look like a temporary solution. They looked like a warning sign, because if a couple who once couldn't stop touching each other now can't even share a roof, what does that say about the love story they've been selling to the world? From the outside, Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker's relationship looked like the ultimate Hollywood fairy tale, but peel back the layers, and the story feels far less perfect. Piece by piece, the cracks are impossible to ignore. Old ghosts from Travis's past continue to linger. His memoir confession about Kim, the accusations from his ex-wife, and the endless tabloid recycling of those stories keep resurfacing, no matter how many times he denies them. For Kourtney, those shadows never fully disappear. They creep into family dinners, public appearances, and even private moments, leaving her to constantly battle with questions she never asked for. On top of that, the fragile bond with her sister makes everything worse. The Kardashian brand thrives on drama, but for Kourtney, every fight with Kim now doubles as a blow to her marriage. Fans online speculate, Hulu teases dramatic edits, and suddenly her personal life becomes everyone's entertainment. Then there's the dynamic between her and Travis. What once looked like passion is now being scrutinized as performance. Their PDA, once celebrated, is starting to feel forced. Rumors that Kourtney has been reshaping her identity to fit into Travis's world fuel the idea that the power in their marriage isn't balanced. And when passion tips into performance, it rarely holds forever. The cracks only widened on tour. Instead of bringing them closer, the long nights, endless travel, and Valentine's Day apart painted a very different picture, one where stress and exhaustion replaced intimacy. And when they finally came home, they didn't even share one. The separate houses, once framed as a practical choice for the kids, now look like symbolic distance between two people who were supposed to be building a life together. Taken on their own, each of these moments could be dismissed. But together, they form a bigger picture, one of a love story that burned bright, maybe too bright, and is now flickering under the weight of reality. So the question isn't whether Kourtney and Travis were ever in love. It's whether love alone is enough to survive the shadows, the spotlight, and the empire that thrives on turning their struggles into storylines. From whirlwind proposals to castle weddings, from blended families to baby Rocky's arrival, Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker seem to have it all. For a moment, they stood as proof that love could conquer anything: fame, family drama, and the mistakes of the past. But when you peel back the layers, the picture changes. Old controversies keep resurfacing. The shadows of Travis's past refuse to fade, and Kourtney's long history of rivalry with Kim continues to hang over the marriage. What once looked like passion is now being questioned as performance. Tour life exposed cracks that glossy Instagram posts couldn't cover, and their choice to live in separate homes makes even their happiest moments look fragile. So what are we really watching here? Is this just the normal turbulence of marriage magnified under a global spotlight, or are we witnessing the slow unraveling of a love story that was never as picture-perfect as it seemed? One thing is certain. With the Kardashians, the story is never truly over. Every silence, every Instagram caption, every public appearance has the power to spark a new wave of speculation. And for Kourtney and Travis, the next chapter could be the one that changes everything. Now it's your turn. Do you think their love is strong enough to survive the spotlight? Or is the fairy tale already falling apart? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Because with this couple, the next twist is always just around the corner.